Hello everyone, welcome back to your own academy, SA Online Academy. So, before starting our two-day session, I would like to tell you that as per your CWNA curriculum, there are few topics which you need not to go through it. But to understand the Wi-Fi in whole or to understand better your CWNA curriculum, you need to understand what actually these terminologies mean to be. So in today's session, we will discuss one or two topics which are not part of your CWNA curriculum, but they are interrelated to your Wi-Fi related stuff. So first, we will cover those topics so that you can betterly understand your topics. Okay, then we will go ahead and start working or start understanding our day-to-day CWNA curriculum. Okay, so our today agenda is CSMA CD, that is carrier sense multiple access collision detection or carrier sense multiple access collision avoidance. So these are the topics which are not part of your CWNA curriculum, but yes, you should understand what actually these technology or access methodologies mean to be. Then collision detection, again it is not part, but you should understand what collision detection actually means. Then third is distributed coordination function. This is part of your CWNA. Then fourth is components of DCF. So this is our today's agenda. So let's start with our today's session. So before explaining you the key differences between CSMA and CD and CSMA CA, what happens? Network communication requires a set of rules to provide controlled and efficient access to the network medium. There are many ways of providing a media access. The early mainframe used polling system. Okay, then later on it could take as a token based contention methods, which are two forms of contention methods are these one CSMA CD versus CSMA CA. Okay, so these are the two widely used. Now let's look into the difference between these two. The first one is carrier sense multiple access collision detection. So as its name implies, it works it is possible with this method to identify the collision detection. Okay, so majorly it is used in a medium where which is a full duplex kind of a medium or which is capable of detecting the collision, and the other is CSMA-CA, which is not capable of detecting the collision. So what it used avoidance, collision avoidance. So CSMA-CD is well known and is used by Ethernet network. CSMA-CA is not as well known as CSMA-CD and is used by 802.11 networks. Okay, because 802.11 networks are half duplex in nature, it is not possible to transmit and receive at the same time. Okay, so it is not possible to detect the collision. So CSMA CA is used in 802.11 networks. If a collision occurs while the CSMA CD node is transmitting, the collision will be detected and the node will temporarily stop transmitting. CSMA CA used as a 802.11 network radios are not capable of transmitting and receiving at the same time, so they are not capable of detecting a collision during the transmission. Okay, so they are not capable of detecting whether the collision happened or not. Okay, CSMA CD can immediately begin transmitting. So like if you are sending right now, if a person A is sending and once the person A stops sending, person B can immediately start sending the data. But in CSMA CA, it is not possible to immediately start transmitting. So when person A is transmitting, once the person A finishes transmitting, person B shall wait for some time before transmitting the data. That is called a backoff time. Okay, we will discuss what is this backoff timer and all this detail. So this is the differences between CSM CA and CSM CD. Okay, so uh, in uh, in 802 IEEE 802.11 2007 standard defines a function called distributed coordination function as a medium access method that utilizes multiple checks and balances to try minimize collision. So in 802.11 networks, or I would say CSMA, we are not able or capable, systems are not capable to identify the collision. So IEEE introduced one access method known as a distributed coordinated function. Okay, so how collision will be detected in CSMA CA based network 802.11 networks? Okay, so let's have a look. Every time an 802.11 radio transmit a unicast frame, if the frame is received properly, the 802.11 radio that received the frame will reply with an acknowledgement frame. So if person A is sending to person B and person B receives the frame properly, then person B reply with the acknowledgement. This acknowledgement act as a confirmation that frame has been received. If this confirmation is not received or sent back to the person A, then it is assumed that the collision happened and data has to be retransmitted. Okay, so 802.11n and 802.11 AC radio make use of frame aggregation, which groups multiple unicast frames together. The deliver of aggregated frame is verified using a block acknowledgement. So in 802.11n and 802.11 AC radio, so instead of sending a single unicast frame, you can aggregate multiple frames, and these multiple frames can be combinedly acknowledged by block acknowledgement. Okay. If an acknowledgement frame is not received by the original transmitting radio, the unicast frame is not acknowledged and will have to be retransmitted. So let's have a look how it actually works. So transmitter sending a unicast frame, and the receiver first runs the CRC, cyclic redundancy check. Okay, a receiver sends an acknowledgement frame. Once the acknowledgement frame is received, it is assumed that the frame has been transmitted successfully. Okay, so this is how collision detection will be identified or assumed in 802.11 networks. So as I said, 802.11 IEEE 802.11 2007 standard defined an access method known as distributed coordination function. So in distributed coordination function, there are few mandatory or I would say there are few parts which identify whether the, or I would say provides a line of defense using which we can say that collision would not happen, or I would say collision minimal chances of any type of collision to be happen. Okay, so here are the four main components of DCF. First is interframe space, duration ID field, carrier sense, then random backoff timer. We will look into these four components of DCF one by one. First is interframe space. So interframe space is a period of time that exists between transmission of wireless frame. So if I transmit one frame, or and someone else is also transmitting, so the difference that A sends then B sends, or I send one frame then before sending another frame I have to wait for some time. That space between the frame is known as interframe space. So interframe spaces are one line of defense used by CSMA CA to ensure that only certain types of 802.11 frames are transmitted following certain interframe spaces. So interframe space actually gives you the idea which type of frame has to be sent once this interframe space occurred. Okay, so there are six type of interframe spaces which are listed here in order of shortest to longest. So first is highest priority. If you send RIFS, reduced interframe space, then it has a highest priority. Then the short interframe space, second highest priority. PCF, DCF, arbitration interframe space, extended interframe space. Okay, the actual length of time of each of the interframe space varies depending on the transmission speed of the network. Okay, and only certain interframe spaces are one line of defense used by CSMA CA to ensure that only certain types of 802.11 frames are transmitted following certain interframe spaces. So what it actually means, let's have a look into the example. So there are six interframe spaces of different duration of time, and the order is RIFS, SIFS, PA. So the priority of RIFS is highest and SIFS is the second highest. Okay, the two most common interframe spaces used are SIFS, short interframe space, and the DCF interframe space. So how it actually works? When a client is transmitting data, all other wireless devices must wait until the media is no longer busy. Okay, so once when client A is transmitting, then it wait for, after transmitting, it wait for SIF, a short interframe frame space. Then it sends a acknowledgement. After the SIFS, it is by default known that acknowledgement will be sent, so it will be given the second highest priority. Okay, so client B must wait at least diffs after the acknowledgement before sending the data. So once the acknowledgement is received to client A, client B must wait for a DIFS, must wait for a time till DIFS space time is available. DIFS means distributed coordination function interframe space. So client B will wait till that time before sending the data. Once that time expires, it will send the data. So this spacing is used to prevent any type of collision. So this is known as interframe space. The second component of DCF is duration ID or field. So the duration ID value represents the time in microseconds that is required to transmit an active frame exchange process so that other radios do not interrupt the process. So if I would explain it to you in layman terms, so it is a time which is sent by the transmitter in frame in microsecond, which will tell the other devices, because when the device is not transmitting, it is listening. When the device is not transmitting and receiving, it is listening. So when duration ID field in the mac of the in the frame mac frame of the transmitting device will give the time window, or I would say the time, that till that time it will receive the acknowledgement, and after that the other devices can transmit. So duration ID field in actual terms will provide the approximate time that you have to be wait till that time before transmitting. Okay, when a client transmit a unicast frame, the duration ID field contains a value from 0 to 32,767. The client that is transmitting the data frame calculates how long it will take to receive an acknowledgement frame and includes that length of time in the duration ID field in the MAC header of the transmitted unicast data frame. So if our client A is sending some data, it will include duration ID, considering that it will receive acknowledgement in that much time, and after that much time the others can transmit. So that is known as duration ID field. Okay, let me show you how it will work. So this client A is transmitting data, okay, and data frame is going to device. So it has to wait SIFS time, as I explained in interframe spaces, then it will send acknowledgement. Now what happened, the MAC header will contain these three information: data, SIFS, acknowledgement. This is the total time taken for the transmission. Duration ID or duration field will contain SIFS and acknowledgement time frame and put it in a MAC header of the transmitted unicast frame. So this is a duration ID field. This is another defense of line used to prevent any type of collision. So by sending this much duration of time, they are actually informing the other clients that don't transmit in between during this time, as it will result into a collision. Okay, now the third is carrier sense. Okay, the first step that an 802.11 CSMA CA device needs to do to begin transmitting is to perform a carrier sense. So there are two ways of carrier sense: one is virtual or other is a physical. Okay, virtual carrier sense, when a 802.11 radio is not transmitting, it is listening. When the listening radio hears a frame transmission from another station, it looks at the header of the frame and determines whether the duration ID field contains a duration value or an ID value. As I explained, in duration value will inform other devices that you have to wait till that time. It uses a timer mechanism known as the NAV, network allocation vector. The NAV timer maintains a prediction of future traffic on the medium based on duration value information seen enough previous frame transmission. So it will set a nav, network allocation vector, or a timer, that this is the duration field of a transmitting frame and I have to be wait till that time, and it will set a that timer under which is known as network allocation vector, and once that time expires then only it will send, else it would not send. Okay, the listening station uses the nav as a countdown timer, knowing that the RF medium should be busy until the countdown reaches 0. So it will set a timer, and once that and timer will keep on decrementing, and once it reaches to 0, then only it will send. So that's how it will prevent the collision. So unicast frame is going, then it has a CIFS acknowledgement frame. So this is a duration value in the MAC header of the station 1's unicast frame, which is 33 microseconds. So all other client station read the duration value from the station 1's unicast frame. All other clients reset their nav timer to 33 microsecond. Okay, so that's how the virtual carrier sense prevent the collision. The other difference, other carrier sense type is known as physical carrier sense. It is possible that a station didn't hear the other radio transmitting and was therefore unable to read the duration ID field and set its nav timer. Okay, so it is possible. There are many reasons why it didn't hear or why this value is not correctly set. Okay, so CSMA CA utilize another line of defense to ensure that a station does not transmit while another radio already is transmitting, is known as a physical carrier sense. Physical carrier sensing is performed consistently by all the stations that are not transmitting or receiving. It is important to understand that both virtual carrier sense and physical carrier sense are always happening at the same time. Virtual carrier sense is at layer 2 of line of defense, while physical carrier sense is a layer 1 line of defense. If one line of defense fails, hopefully the other will prevent collision from occurring. Okay. Now the fourth type component of a DCF is random backoff timer. What it is? The random backoff timer is a final timer used by 802.11 station before it transmits. So an 802.11 station may contend for the medium during a window of time known as the backoff time. The station chooses a random number from a range called a contention window value. After the random number is chosen, the number is multiplied by the slot time value. Slot time size are dependent on the physical layer in specification, whether it's uses a DSSS, OFDM, HRD, etc. This starts a random backoff timer. If no medium activity occurs during a particular time slot, then backoff timer is decremented by slot time. If the physical or virtual carrier sense mechanism sends a busy medium, the backoff timer decrement is suspended and the backoff timer value is maintained. So, for example, I will show you diagrammatically as well. But before that, I would like to explain in very easy terms. So, it is a timer. Like two clients are sending at the same time. So there is a contention window like from 0 to 16. So both the client choose one random value, like one chooses 1, other chooses a 14 or 15, some any value. Then it get multiplied with the time slot. So time slots are because it's a half duplex in nature, and TD 802.11 is a TDD in nature. So it selects a one time slot and it multiplied that time slot with the random contention window value, and it set that as a timer, and it wait till the timer goes to value of 0. Like in nav, same way it maintains a decremented. So it keeps on watching this, that whether there is an activity during a particular slot time. If there is no activity, it decremented the timer. If there is activity, it will maintain that timer and set the back of timer up to that level. So let's have a look. So when the medium is idle for a duration of diffs AIFS or EIFS period, the backoff process resume and continues the countdown from where it let off. Okay, so client A and client B are sending at the same time. It results in a collision. Okay, to avoid that, what happens? There is a contention window, as I said. So this is a time slot it has selected. Okay, sorry, this is a random number client A has selected. This is a random number client B has selected. Now it multiplied with the time slot, okay, contention window time slot, and it sends the data. And now client A is sending when its contention window or time slot comes. So instead of sending at the same time, it sets a back off timer, and this results into the no collision, or it avoids the collision. So this is all about DCF, distributed coordination function, access method introduced by IEEE 802.11 2007 standard. So after DCF, it's a mandatory access method. After DCF, there is a few other methods like PCF, point coordination function, hybrid point coordination function, which we will discuss in coming videos. Okay, so for today we are done, and now it's a time to have a look into the quiz. So 802.11 collision detection is handled using which technology? Options are network allocation vector, clear channel assessment, duration ID value, receiving an acknowledgement from the destination station, positive collision detection cannot be determined. Okay. Question 2. Which of the following terms are affiliated with the virtual carrier sense mechanism? Contention window, network allocation vector, random back of time, duration ID field. So friends, we are done with our today's session. Soon we will come up with a new video wherein we will discuss about PCF, hybrid coordination function, time fairness, and etc. So in case you have any doubt, please feel free to reach me out in the comment section. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment on my video. Thank you.